Heads up, friends. Trump just waived NDAs on UAP information, but we need to read the fine print of what that's all about. You're going to be hearing a lot about it as if it's the next biggest thing to happen. Trump just directed the Department of War and the intelligence community to release former government employees and contractors from their NDAs on UAP information. That's the headline, and it's a real one. According to Fox News Digital, a senior administration official said Trump directed the Department of War and the intelligence community to allow former government employees or contractors who have relevant UAP information to come forward, meet with designated government representatives, and have their prior NDAs abrogated. That means anyone who signed a non-disclosure agreement tied to classified UAP work can now walk into one of two doors. The first is AARO, the Pentagon's all-domain anomaly resolution office. The office set up specifically to investigate UFOs and unidentified anomalous phenomena. The second is PURSUE, the President's UAP Task Force, which stands for the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters. Under this process, the person meets with cleared officials at one of those two offices. During that authorized conversation, the old NDA can be set aside so they can actually talk. This is the kind of moment people in this space have waited for years. Whistleblowers with real knowledge finally free to speak through official channels instead of sitting on decades of silence out of fear of legal exposure or losing a security clearance. And the timing isn't random. This follows years of congressional hearings, public whistleblower allegations from people like former intelligence officer David Grush, and a steady drip of newly declassified military footage that's kept the pressure on. The administration's own explanation is that people who believe they have relevant information have been reluctant to come forward, and this removes that specific barrier. Now, here's the twist. And it's a real one. The door might not be as new as it sounds. A researcher named John Greenwald Jr., who runs a FOIA-based archive called The Black Vault, has already surfaced government memos, one from the Pentagon and one from the intelligence community, obtained through Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. Those memos confirm that AARO already had legal authority to receive NDA-protected UAP information, and that authority goes back to language written into the fiscal year 2023 National Defense Authorization Act. AARO's own reporting form has apparently said for a while now that a person can report without fear of violating an agreement. So what we might be looking at isn't a brand new legal pathway. It might be the administration taking an authority that has already quietly existed and putting a spotlight on it, publicly reinforcing it, maybe to get more people to actually use it. That matters because it changes what kind of announcement this actually is. It's less the government just created a new door, and more the government is telling you the door was already unlocked. Please walk through it. And here's the sobering part of that, the part that actually matters most if you're trying to figure out how real this is. Right now, this is a directive, not an executive order. There's no EO number, no memo, no document sitting on the record anywhere. Everything traces back to anonymous senior administration officials speaking to one outlet, Fox News, in an exclusive. Another official from that same administration was quick to clarify that this is not a declassification directive. It only allows people to come forward through government channels. Nothing has actually been released to the public. Nothing here is legally binding in the way an executive order or a signed policy would be. I went and checked whether anything's moved since this story broke. No executive order has been signed. Nothing new has posted to the Federal Register or the White House site. The only other confirmation I found was a War Department official telling a different outlet back in late February that AARO is working with the White House to consolidate UAP records and get never-before-seen information released. That's a separate, earlier data point, and it shows the broader disclosure push has some legs. but it still isn't paperwork tied to this specific NDA story. So here's where this leaves us. Until there's an actual executive order on the table, something with a number, a date, and some teeth, the practical result is likely to be the same as it's always been. People stay quiet, agencies move slow, information stays buried in a filing cabinet somewhere in a building most of us will never see. Think Raiders of the Lost Ark. Words move the story, paper moves the truth. Right now we've got the story, we're still waiting on the paper. Now, the Congress could also pass its legislation as well. It has to go through Senate, and if it does, it will go to the president. But until we get real paperwork designing and protecting individuals who feel in harm's way, we're not going to see much movement here. All right, my friends, that is our UFO UAP update for July. Until next time, be well.